So let's start by asking how well you slept last night. Did you wake up feeling groggy or tired? Well, the reality is that regardless of what your goals are in life, you have to get good quality sleep. And we all know what it's like to have poor sleep, to wake up feeling foggy headed or just low energy. So today, thankfully, we're going to be talking to a sleep science coach. Her name is Keri Cooper. But let's start off by introducing this podcast overall. My name is Aaron Shaw. I'm from Healthspan Physio Coaching. I'm an occupational therapist and strength coach, and I love talking about all things healthspan. And healthspan is the length of time within our lifespan that we are healthy, active, vibrant, well rested. And I think that healthspan has five main pillars. And these are exercise, nutrition, sleep, emotional well being, and preventative care. And these pillars really allow us to live a long life, live a vibrant life, live long careers, be engaged with our family and loved ones. And a client of mine is very busy, busy professional, whether they're an entrepreneur, a leader, an employee, a parent, they're taking care of parents, which is often what people are doing these days that are doing both caring for parents and caring for children. And all face common struggles of trying to be healthy and feel well into our older, the last stages of our life. And sleep is a key ingredient of that. It is absolutely essential. And that is where Keri Cooper is going to come in and help give us some tips for sleep. So thank you for joining us, Keri.
Thank you for having me. I love this topic.
Yes, good. So Keri is a psychotherapist times 25-ish years. She is a certified sleep science coach. She is an author. She is a mother of four. So I'm sure there was a few moments there where your sleep was probably compromised along the way,
Absolutely. That's
maybe more
really
than once.
normal.
Really normal. So again, Carrie, thank you for coming and joining Healthspan Digest. And I've got a whole bunch of questions on sleep
hmm
that are self-serving because I want to sleep well, but also we really want to make sure that the listeners have a few real morsels or a few real action items that they can walk away with. But let's start off by maybe telling us like what got you interested in sleep? What took you
Yeah.
down?
So as you were speaking earlier, you were talking about sleep as a pillar for, your physical health. And what I've noticed is that sleep is such a foundation for your mental health as well. So in my practice, I predominantly work actually with high school and college kids. And especially during COVID time, their sleep was horrendous and their mental health was horrendous. But even post COVID, I can always kind of see how they're doing by my question when I see them every day, which is how have you been sleeping for this last week? And when they start telling me, I went to bed like 2 in the morning on a school night. When they start telling me this, I'm like, you're going to go downhill. And they know it. And now they can track it as well. Um, and then I started also noticing all the parents that would come into my office and be like, I can't show up for my kid the way I want to because I am just so tired. I'm running on fumes. And I'm like, are you sleeping? No, I'm up late doing work or laundry or dishes. And everyone's doing so much, and it's sleep that kind of gets lost without realizing that if you actually slept, you'd be able to get everything done so much quicker and be more productive, which is, why I even give talks to corporations because when their employees are sleeping well, they're more productive. So I wrote two books, Mental Health Uncensored, 10 Foundations Every Parent Needs to Know. And then I wrote a workbook for the kids based on that too. And in both of my books, there's an entire chapter on sleep where I really dive into the research on sleep for mental health, why it's such a foundation, why it's probably the most important thing you can do. And for the workbook that I have for kids on how to start tracking their sleep and how to start noticing their mood shifts around their sleep. So one interesting thing you said in the beginning of this when you were introducing this piece was, do you feel like tired and groggy and all of that from your lack of sleep? And some people do, but some people are so accustomed to not sleeping that they're like, no, I feel fine, but they're not fine. And if they actually slept, they would be like, "Oh, wow, look at this
This is
difference." Because we get so used to these chronic conditions, whether it be pain, whether it be, lack of sleep, whatever it may be. And we don't even realize that we're not functioning well.
yeah. Tell me how common sleep disorders are. Like, is that I have the sense that it's pretty widespread, whether it would be a formal diagnosis, I don't know, but
Right.
how common is it for people to be under-rested? Like, what I'm not sure the best term.
Incredibly common, from what I'm seeing, just, not only at work, but also in my own life. I am a mother of four, as you mentioned. And, I always tell this funny story how we were out to dinner one night with a bunch of different couples. And like they were all talking about this text chain. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not part of this text chain. And they're like, it's our 2 a.m. text chain. We know you sleep. And I was like, well, you don't? What are all of you doing? And again, one's on like the Peloton, one's, cooking for the next day, one's doing laundry. And I realized like nobody's sleeping well. And that's why everyone is running on coffee all day long. And then oftentimes then drinking to fall asleep at night. That's a whole nother issue in this
Mhm,
country that I think goes underdiagnosed. And even if you watch, TV ads, whatever, there's so much promotion of sleep medication
mhm,
or sleep rings or sleep this or sleep that to try to track your sleep. And that's actually a message I want to send home to your listeners is that when we start approaching sleep like it's a battle, like I'm going to conquer sleep tonight, let me track my sleep and see where I'm at, you start getting anxious about your sleep. Sleep becomes a battle. And what we've learned from the research of sleep is that the most effective way of treating sleep is really through a cognitive behavioral therapy approach. You have to stop battling sleep and start coming to an acceptance along with behavior modifications. That way you can sleep. Because so many people, they look at their bed and it's just that anxiety hits and their mind is spinning and racing and they can't sleep at night. But it's because they've linked their bed with their anxiety at that point, linked their bed with a battle. And I think that's one of the most important pieces is that you need to look at sleep differently, that it's not a battle, it's not something to conquer.
yeah, that's interesting. I've thankfully rarely gone through periods where I would really feel like I would ever really have trouble sleeping, but I know people that do, and unlike going to bed and being like right now, like whenever I go to bed, it's there's I kinda get excited because
Oh, yeah.
typically I'm, tired and I feel like I've done a lot of my own work on sleep and because of course I talk about it all the time, and so I'm a nerd trying to, figure out what works best for me. But some people look at sleep and they start getting anxious about sleep, like
Hmm.
nervous about sleep and just almost being preoccupied about I don't know if it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a sense, but like I'm probably not going to sleep well. I never sleep well, and will label themselves as poor sleepers.
Yes.
And I think that seems like, and even this past week, I gave a talk. It's actually a veterinary conference, and so people in the vet field are stressed and high work demands. And when I started reviewing these pillars of healthspan, I mentioned sleep, and I said, is anybody in here a good sleeper? And out of this, big room of people, there was one person who raised his hand. He's like, "Yeah, I'm actually a pretty good sleeper." And he's like, the unicorn showed up, and everybody else was, shaking their heads. And I think, wow, like there's just I can imagine like this sense of being worried about sleeping
Yeah.
while also knowing I need this sleep because
Hmm.
it's impact my
Right. So
next.
that's when they start looking at the clock and they're like counting down, like, oh no, I have to wake up in 5 hours, in 4 hours, in
Yeah,
3 hours.
keep
This is
track.
what I have to do the next day. I'm not going to be able to function. When am I going to nap the next day? And it's just, you're so in your head and
Getting
you're
spun
spinning.
up. Yeah, it's getting spun up about the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
So
what
that's where the cognitive behavioral therapy approach really comes into play because we need to change how you're looking at sleep, how you're approaching sleep. But also as a society, it's like this badge of honor to be busy and to not prioritize sleep, which is a whole nother problem, which is why probably only one person raised their hand,
right?
in your group, because it's also not seen to be something that's a positive
Almost like
necessarily.
shame on you for sleeping well, and
Yeah. What do you mean you got 8 hours of sleep?
exactly. Yeah, I think that there's for me again, I kind of get giddy when I am getting prepared for bed, and I'm like sort of identified myself. I'm very comfortable at this stage of my life, at least, feeling like, oh, it's for me. This is going to sound crazy for a lot of people that are listening, but by 8:30, I'm like, all right, it's time to wrap things up because I'm a morning person. That's just the way my
Right.
eating rhythms are, work for me. Different for everybody, I'm sure, but you can enlighten
Yes.
me on that. But um, I think that find the key for me is accepting this is the way my cycle works. And
Mhm.
there are times when I've certainly tried to, or life happens and events or traveling time zones where I try to finesse that. But man, there's a sweet spot that I realize that it all like the closer I can get to that sleep spot of this is when I wind down, this is when I go to bed, this is when I wake up, then it's good. And exception is to the rule, maybe to fall outside of that.
Right.
But takes it's probably still a work in progress, I suppose. But let's talk about that person who is anxious about going to bed,
Mhm.
who's got some anxiety and tends not to sleep well. If they were to come talk to you, like what are some things that you would talk to them about or ask them about?
Yeah.
Or,
There's numerous layers to it. One of the first things I always talk about is what are you doing throughout your day? Because you need to expend enough energy throughout your day to be tired at night.
mm,
And I think people easily forget that, or they say, I'm too tired to go to the gym, or I need to sleep late. I can't get up earlier because so I can't go to the gym. So, that's one of the problems is that sleep is used as an excuse so often. I can't work out, but you need to work out in order to sleep. You need to move your body. And so often people are sitting at a desk all day long, including our kids, and
mhm,
aren't expending the energy they need to be able to be tired at night. So that's one of the first things.
mhm.
The other thing is, are you seeing the light of day at all? Like your body actually needs to see daylight. And again, when somebody's in their home office or something and doesn't step foot outside, that's a problem.
So not getting that morning sunlight or
Yeah.
sometime in the day, morning sunlight in your eyes. I've looked at circadian rhythm some, and it seems like there is something to our body's being stimulated when the light's on. It's time to wake up, and when
Right.
turn that around. And I did this not with any sort of intentional or research, but I find myself dimming lights in the evenings,
Yes.
like when I'm brushing my teeth at night,
Yep.
and there's like the stadium light up over the sink, which I can't stand anyhow. And then there's like a light over the shower behind me. Like I actually prefer just that back to kind of be a little bit backlit as opposed to trying to wind down and like having the bright light in my face. And I feel like there's something to that as well.
Goes hand in hand with the blue light we're consuming.
Mhm,
So when we're looking at devices all day long, especially right before bed, your body's not thinking it's time for bed. It's seeing light. So a lot of people will be like, well, I'll watch a show on my laptop or on my phone before I go to bed. That's not helpful at all. Or reading a book on your device, not helpful. Because again, you're getting all of that light in.
mhm,
So, and those are also some of the basic areas that, I go over is how is your bedroom set up? Is there light coming in? Is it on the colder side? Is it dark? What is it comfortable? What is happening just in that realm? What does your nighttime routine look like? But your daytime routine is important too. And then that also goes into what are you eating all day long? Because if you're eating junk food, sugar, all of that stuff, how do you expect to go to sleep at night? And what's interesting is that it's when we sleep that a lot of our hormones are produced. So those hormones that say, I'm full, I don't need any more food, or I'm hungry, all of that stuff is happening at night. So when we're not sleeping well, now we don't really have those hormones working. Now we're overeating.
mhm.
Now we're binge eating. And it's just this horrendous cycle.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just that. Like I can see it's if you are tired, like to peek at a snapshot of somebody's day today, and if they were tired, and so their hunger may be off, and maybe they have the caffeine, and then maybe have a little bit of sugar to kind of get that pep through the day, and then that sort of start to crash. So they play the game, which is, I talk to my clients about all the time.
Yep.
It's like what's in the break room at the office sometimes,
Oh, yes.
and it's not typically fruit or anything good. So it's this food that's give people a quick sugar buzz, and physiologically we're going to crave that if we're low energy anyhow. So your body's going to see that sweet donut and think, oh, that's definitely, our
Hmm.
brain says that's what I want. Well, then you start riding that wave, and if that's during the day, I could see how In the evening, it's going to be hard to wind down. If you're staring at a screen and if you're stressed out about it, you're going to sleep poorly, but then you're going to get up the next day and do the whole thing all over again. It's
Right.
start the cycle all over. Like, how do you break that if you're in that and you do feel I'm too tired, too groggy to work out, which is I hear this often and
Mhm.
feel it often too. I mean, there are certainly days when like I don't sleep well or I don't feel well rested, but I know like I need to. Is it just like tough it out sometimes? Like, do you have to overcome some of this sense of like I know I'm tired, but objectively
Yeah.
I.
I mean, some of it is you can do things while you're tired. You can. And a lot of times people get tired right around that 3 o'clock mark,
Mhm.
which is normal, by the way. Our circadian rhythms kind of shift a little bit at that time, both in the middle of the night and during the daytime. So we do tend to get a little sleepy then. We get even more sleepy when we're coming down from a sugar crash. Um, so what I say to people, instead of taking a nap at 3 o'clock or, trying to close your eyes, go outside for a 10-minute walk. It makes a huge difference. And even if you're tired, you can do a 10-minute walk.
Within your capacity, and I think we can all agree. This is what's interesting too. Like I think we can all agree that a 10-minute walk in the middle of the day sounds glorious, especially if you're
Yes.
working and grinding through, whether it's at home working, like managing your house, or in the
Mhm.
office or whatever it is. Like a 10-minute walk outside seems like such a luxury, especially on a pretty halfway decent day. Like, oh, what a great, it's just cool to be outside and doing it. And not always, but most of the time, it's actually pretty readily available. That we should be able to do
Yes.
that. And I
Yes.
think for whatever reason, we set up these barriers. And I would even reiterate the idea of being able to do things, including exercise when you are a little tired.
Mhm.
It's okay to be a little tired and still push through and do
Yeah.
something that's a little bit challenging. I mean, your arms and legs aren't going to fall off probably. Like things are going to be okay, but you may be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you may be helping to maybe reset things a little bit that'll pay off in.
Absolutely. Even people who work in an office building 9 to 5, you get a lunch break. You do. Walk around your building for 10 minutes outside. I have a lot of 20 something year olds that work in the city right now. And some of them, especially depending on what, area of business they're on, work really, really long hours. They are now all leaving their office for 10 minutes and taking a walk around, their city block just to get fresh air. Sometimes sunlight, sometimes not so sunny, but still just to get that air, just to get a little movement. And it makes a big difference. And whenever people tell me, I don't have time for a 10-minute walk. I don't have time to work out even for, 15 minutes a day. I don't have time to, cook a meal. I say, bring up your screen time
Yes, I knew you were going to say that.
because I'm pretty no nonsense. Like I'm going to call you out on what's going on because that's the only way you have to be truthful in order to fix it.
Sure. Yeah.
And I say, bring up your screen time. And I remember one person brought up their screen time. And I said, with the amount of time you are on your device, you could have a full-time second job.
You
That's
could
how
be a
much time it
professional
was.
triathlete if you wanted to be, right?
Right. Time time is rarely the issue, even though everyone says it is.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think that the fear for some, it is, I can't stop right now because I, I have productivity demands, right? I have these
Mhm.
things I have to do. And yet X amount of time is spent scrolling nonsense or on the phone. And I know that from my personal experience, when I do have a lot of things to do and I feel like I'm short on time. Sometimes the best productive thing I can do is actually step away from work for 10 minutes and go outside. And, we have a couple of dogs. So there's a certain cycle that it forces me to do that anyhow.
Mhm.
And sure enough, when I come back from that, whatever, whatever that 10 or 15 minutes that I've stepped away, that, lost productivity, if you will, I've doubled that in the next hour because I can kind of get back in the zone, and so it's actually a net positive. My productivity is better by stopping.
Absolutely. And by prioritizing your sleep, so you're waking up, you could focus, you're refreshed, like you can do things, you have energy. People always say to me, like, how do you get so much done? Like, I'm an author of 2 books. I'm a podcast guest, numerous times a week. I have 2 businesses. I have 4 children, all who still live at home. None of them are in college yet. And I say, I sleep great. I sleep great. And I wake up every morning to work out. That's how my day starts. And my day is productive. And I am done, by dinner time. Like that is family time. I'm not doing anything else. But again, I could be more productive because I'm exercising, because I'm sleeping, because I'm eating well, because I'm prioritizing my sleep.
Mhm. It's great. You're reinforcing the concept of these pillars of healthspan, these pillars of health,
Yes.
and they are um, exercise may feel like its own thing, and nutrition is its own thing, and sleep is its own thing, but there's and emotional well-being. I mean, they're all pieces of a puzzle, and if
Yeah.
you want to have the best health and performance and just feeling the best, you need all of those pieces to be slotted in there, and they feed off each other. So it's a win-win once they start putting them
Abs-
together.
Absolutely. That's I when I wrote my books, I wrote about the 10 foundations. 5 of them are physical,
Mhm.
and when people come to me, especially parents, and they're like, my kid can't focus in school, are they ADD? Are they ADHD? Well, hold on. Are they sleeping? Because if they're not sleeping, they're not focusing.
Yeah.
And that's what happens actually a lot to our kids. So they don't sleep. They have to go to school. They have to get up early, right? So now they're on 4 and 5 hours of sleep, maybe 5 hours.
Crazy.
They go to school, they can't focus, so they can't learn the information, right? Now they come home and they have homework, but because they don't know what they just learned in school, the homework is taking 3 times as long. And then you combine that if they're doing sports or clubs after school, now the kids are saying, I can't get to bed until 12 o'clock. And then I want to, be able to relax and watch Netflix. And now it's, 1 o'clock in the morning. But it's because they're not sleeping that their homework oftentimes is taking as long as what it is.
That sounds tragic and just completely overwhelming to me. Like that concept of one even being up at that time of night or that time of the morning is crazy. But the idea of trying to do that and be engaged in life, and whether it's sports or work or homework aside, it just sounds uncomfortable.
It sounds like torture. I mean, actually, sleep deprivation is a form of torture.
You're right. That's true. Literally, literally, right?
Literally.
Yeah.
This is what they use for torture. It is torturous.
Yes. What do you think about, you touched on this a little bit, but what do you think about this plethora of wearable devices these days? It sounds like it's a maybe double-edged sword where it's
I can't stand them. I'll
no.
be honest. I can't stand them. Um, and actually, when I have people log their sleep, I say, guess. Don't look at the clock. What time do you think you may have woken up? How long do you think you were up for? When you're looking at these devices that are like, good job, you got good sleep, or bad job, your sleep wasn't good today. I mean, it's not the mentality you want.
Mhm.
And that goes back into that mentality of battling your sleep, that it's something to achieve. And it's like, yes, I did it today. And then when you don't do it, you feel
You
awful.
failed.
And listen, even people who are good sleepers, you're going to have the occasional off day. You
Mhm.
just are. Maybe on a Saturday night you had a few drinks. You're not going to sleep great that night. And that's a whole nother issue, by the way, is that when people are go, 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 then at night they're drinking that glass of wine and trying to go to sleep. Your body at night needs to just be sleeping. It's doing so much when you're sleeping. It's processing memories. It's, your growth hormones, especially for kids. It's all of these other hormones, your immune system. Your immune system is, kicking on. It can't be digesting food and it can't be trying to get rid of alcohol.
Like pick one thing and ideally focus on the sleep and not on don't give your body more than it needs to be doing at that time. So
Right.
what would be like a general ballpark for before going to bed? How many hours or what kind of time frame would you say start
I
to
would love 2 hours, ideally 2 hours.
so by 2 hours before you plan on going to bed, put the fork down.
Yeah. Put the
Definitely.
fork down. Don't be drinking.
uh,
And, try to get off the devices.
that's yeah. Is there an app for that? No. Um, yeah, so some sort of like make all the devices automatically go dark at a certain time. Like that would be
Yeah.
that'd be brilliant. Yeah, as somebody who enjoys an occasional beer, and actually I would probably enjoy beer. I do enjoy beer, or a cocktail or something frequently. I have cut down so dramatically, and not that I was ever a heavy
Right.
drinker per se, but even still, having one drink is enough that there's something that happens in the middle of the night that I wake up and Um, and I'd be curious your take on this. So when I talk to my clients now, my coaching clients now, I sounds like you, we have similar approach. Like let's like an eyes wide open, like put everything on the table. Like what's like there's no right or wrong. We're all human
Mhm.
beings. And certainly I talk about this stuff all the time, but I'm not perfect. You know, we're not perfect. Like I have
Of
good days,
course.
bad days, and you know, I've
Right.
been known to eat a donut every now and then and skip workout. Like we're all in this together.
Yeah.
But being eyes wide open, I know that when I have alcohol, it will affect my sleep. And
Mhm.
there are certainly times, you know, for days or weeks straight where like I get too much to do to indulge. And what I want is like, I just want a nice cold beer at the end of the
Mhm.
day. It's, you know, big, beautiful sunny day out. The flip side of that is my wife and I have date nights. And on, you know, on Thursday nights, typically we go out to eat and
Mhm.
have a cocktail with dinner, knowing full well that my sleep is going to be compromised that night. And I'm fine doing it.
Right. Because that's okay. You know, I love how you said, like, none of us are perfect. We're not. Of course, you're going to, and you shouldn't be perfect. And again, that's that mentality that there's going to be nights where you don't get a good night's sleep. It's okay. It's not going to destroy you. There's going to be days where you have that donut. It's fine.
Mhm.
There's going to be days where you have that glass of wine or cocktail. It's fine. It's all about moderation
And enjoy it while you if you're gonna do
and
it, then
enjoy. Like you
yep.
should enjoy life. But again, you don't want to be going through life dragging with a ton of health issues that you can't enjoy life, which means you need to be able to take care of yourself for the majority of the time.
So somebody is, let's say, generally a good sleeper,
Hmm.
and for whatever reason, they go through a night or 2 and they start waking up, you know, midnight somewhere or partway through the night, and not because of alcohol per se or something.
Hmm.
I've heard various some people I mean, I get some friends and colleagues that would, you know, well, get up and I read, or I'll, you know, go start to do some work or something. Start, you know, I had somebody who's a writer, so you know, she'll start writing. My personal approach is this is just because I'm sort of a defiant kind of guy to begin with. Is that I'm going to stay in bed and pretend I'm sleeping, and, and then see if I can trick myself to just falling asleep. Is there like a one strategy that tends to work better than another?
Well, it's based upon if you are laying in bed awake, are you stressed out? If you are stressed out, get out of your bed immediately. You don't want to link your bed with stress. If it's like you who, and I'm the same way, if I randomly wake up, it's rare, but on occasion I do, I'm just like, oh, and like I'll just lay there and like snuggle up and it's fine. It doesn't bother me. So I can stay in bed. But if you have distress over the fact that you're waking up, you have to get out of bed. That's actually where the sleep issues, I think, if we really want to dig to the core, begin, is that you're laying in bed and you're frustrated. You're laying in bed and you're stressed out. And that's when your mind really starts linking that bed with anxiety, with frustration, with stress. So if you are laying in bed, whether it's in the middle of the night you woke up or you're trying to go to bed and you're laying there stressed out, get out of bed.
Interesting. Yes, I would say from again my personal experience when I'm in bed and I would wake up for kind of a random and infrequent time. I I think it's the same. You just same strategy as you do. Like I'm not typically stressed. I'm certainly not associating my bed with stress. And because I've been so consciously aware of my health for so long, I could if the worst case scenario, I just realize I may be a little bit tired if I don't fall back.
Mhm.
And also, I've had nights where I've slept very little through for whatever reason, and still you know, and still I stand. Like, so your life goes on. Uh,
Yep.
but I find that as long yeah, I guess since I'm not stressed out about or anxious about the sleeping process as much as it's just like, I shrug it off and go, "Okay, this is
And
one of
that's
those
the
nights."
difference between somebody who has a sleep issue and someone who doesn't. So somebody who has a sleep issue, if they get up in the middle of the night, it's, oh my gosh, oh, I'm going to be so tired tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to function. When am I going to be able to nap? I have to go to bed extra early tomorrow. Like their mind just starts going and they try to almost like recoup the lost sleep, which you can't do, by the way. It's just
Unfortunately,
gone and it's okay.
catch up on sleep.
Um, and then they go to bed early or they take a nap and now their sleep cycle is even more off.
Mhm. Yeah. See, I could easily see how with the best of intentions, like trying to like, you know, Band-Aid approach to
Right.
all the little things as opposed to maybe stepping back and saying, let me create like a sleep strategy I'm not sure if there's a word for that, but it's like, what's the bigger plan? And then recognize, yeah, there may be little, little boo-boos along the way or little things that happen along the way, but I need to stick to the bigger picture plan
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
opposed
you
to
can't recoup
napping,
it.
alcohol, and caffeine. Like, I don't know if that's not really a strategy. It sounds like a
No.
grasping at straws.
But that was like, if somebody had a donut one day and felt bad about it because they have, not a great maybe relationship with food, you can't then eat like 20 cucumbers the next day and think like it's fixing it. You have to be able to know that like one donut's okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good analogy. I'm gonna have to use that one. And so what about people who, would either go to, I think there's a lot of over-the-counter sleep aids these days. Would you say that those are absolute no-nos, or in case of emergency, break glass and take the? So I think even NyQuil now, which was like the cold and flu, I think they have something that's like just to sleep better.
Yes, they do.
Basically, they just knock you out for the night, or
Yeah. So obviously I don't love them.
Mhm.
I'm not into absolutes. So I don't want to say there's, never a time to take them. And some people are on sleep meds. And when they come to see me, I don't say like just jump off your sleep meds. But what I say to them is make a decision. If you're going to take your sleep meds, you're going to take them at the same time every day, not do this. Let me see. Am I sleeping? Am I not sleeping? Do I need to take it now? Because again, that's all that frustration and anxiety. If you choose to take them take them at the same time, take them consistent or however your doctor has prescribed them, or if you're doing something over the counter, and then see, okay, I'm going to take them every other day. Like figure it out, but talk to your doctor about that because the sleep meds are no joke. Like that needs to be overlooked by a doctor. Even if you're just taking over the counter ones, your doctor should know about this. And you should have a plan with your doctor about that.
yeah, for sure. That seems like it's. I can see it. I'm sure if somebody has chronic sleep problems and they haven't really had it attended to, how it would be great to see what's available off the shelf. At the same
Hmm.
time, I could also see that could be a slippery slope for somebody in not really perhaps being addressing whatever the primary issue is with their sleep. Like, they're not following the dark room, cool
Right.
room, regular sleep times. But I can kind of sleep anytime as long as I take this pill. It kind of knocks me out. Like, that's not really a. Or there are consequences to that, long term health consequences.
I mean, it's also what kind of sleep are you really getting?
Right, yeah, being knocked out versus, like, an actual natural
Right.
sleep.
Yeah, I think there's a quality of sleep issue.
Yeah. So what do you think would be the number one, or top couple things when somebody comes to see you, seeks out your expertise? Like, what tends to be the low-hanging fruit that people are often overlooking?
I mean, one of my most important takeaways with that is that we have to change the way we look at sleep, both from not battling it and from prioritizing it. That is like the overall theme of working with me.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, we go into the basics of make sure your room is a little bit cold. Make sure that, there's nothing wrong with the sound machine. Use the sound machine if there's noise, because sometimes people don't even realize how the noise is impacting them. Make sure it's really, really, really dark in your room. Like those are the basics. And then, like I said, we look at your day to day. Are you expending energy? If you're not going to sleep. You know, when are you drinking caffeine? Are you drinking alcohol? Those are the places we look at. But for anybody here, listening, and they're like, where do I start? The most basic place to start on trying to adjust your sleep routine is to consistently wake up at the same time. I'm not so concerned about what time you go to bed. I'm more concerned about you waking up actually at a consistent time.
Well, let's kinda tie that in a little bit with, and you may have. I'll give you the opportunity to give another tip here. Is in all of my episodes, I do want to have the listeners have one action item that they can do, and in this case, start tonight.
Hmm.
So, what would you think of? We've touched on several things that can improve our sleep. What is one thing somebody could do today, tonight, to improve their sleep and therefore probably improve their health span, their lifespan, their capacity to work or school? What would be one thing that they could do?
I mean, the number one thing is to actually prioritize it. So think about what time do you want to go to bed at night? Don't be doing the dishes at midnight. You have to that's the first step. You have to want to prioritize it. You have to realize that it is a foundation for both your mental and your physical health.
Love that. Think with when you prioritize something, it would indicate that it's a value to you, and if it's a
Yes.
value, like a true personal value, you can incentivize or you have more incentive to say, okay, if sleep is important to me. And if I can think back to again these rooms of people that I've been speaking to, everybody can acknowledge like, yeah, man, I could probably sleep a little bit better, and certainly when I don't, there are consequences in my life during the day, and so it is important. Then, if if it's important and you make it a priority, it seems like it's a lot easier to say, I'm going to therefore take action and start
Right.
doing some of these things. I love the
And
idea.
that's why, by the time people get to me for a sleep coach, they have decided to prioritize their sleep. So we're already starting off
You filter them through,
in
like
a great place.
for sure. That's great.
No one's forced to come see me.
Yeah,
So it's by the time they say, yes, I need help with this. And what the good thing about the sleep coaching is that by the time they get to me, they want to prioritize it already. So we're already through that hurdle. And then honestly, it's normally under a month to, put someone back into a good sleep pattern.
good. So within a month, if somebody said, okay, I'm ready, I know I need to kind of tidy up the way I do a few things. I need some guidance
Hmm.
from somebody like Keri Cooper.
Hmm.
You would say, generally speaking, within a month's time, they should feel like things are kind of starting to get back.
Absolutely.
That's good. That's encouraging.
Yeah,
That's
it's a quick turnaround. Our brains are always learning
right.
and they're always changing. So once we start changing the patterns and the routines and the thought processes, it goes.
That's great. I'm sure there are people listening that could say that they haven't slept consistently well for months and months and or years
Years,
or decades,
years.
whatever it is
Yeah.
that. Uh, so if you're listening to this and you feel that you've not been sleeping well and that is your norm, take it take it with some hope that with some proper guidance from Keri Cooper, you could actually, within a month's time, actually probably be sleeping much better than you are now, which is encouraging. It is, as I've spoke on, other episodes with this regarding sleep, it is it's like the legal performance enhancing drug. To speak from like the athlete's point of view, in various sports is always like, what's the trick? What do you whether it's Gatorade on one side or illegal drugs on the other side, like what's the hack? And I feel like the biggest hacks is sleep well, like master that sleeping, all the beautiful physiological processes that we want to perform well, physically, plus cognitive strength and memory and all the risks of dementia and Alzheimer's, like all of these things are hormones, all these positive things happen when we sleep. That's where the magic happens. And if you
Isn't that amazing? Isn't it truly amazing how much actually happens when we sleep? And I think people don't realize that.
Yeah, and I think of it as being in the fitness and exercise space that I often get asked, what's the best workout? Or I
Hmm.
want to run, or I want to bike, or I want to lift weights, or I'm losing muscle mass. How do I regain that? Like we can talk, and if anything, it's like I don't want to say it's easy, but it's pretty straightforward, like how to program somebody. Like, oh, I can. If this is where you're at, yeah, of course I can give you ideas, and you can become stronger and build your cardiovascular health and all this other stuff. But unless we put it in part of the equation, which is the sleep, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you like doing squats or deadlifts or jumping jacks or running or riding a bicycle. If you're not sleeping, you're missing the equation. The equation is incomplete and your results are going to be subpar. And so, to flip that on the other side, if you have a pretty good program and you have sleep put in there, you're going to get so much more ultimate return because without that, you're kind of suffering for nothing, especially if you're going doing workouts and you're doing hard things.
Yeah.
You are breaking down your body. We all know what that, delayed onset muscle soreness is and that achiness is. To me, like that is like a physical manifestation that we're all probably fairly familiar with, but we recover from that when we sleep, right? And
Hmm.
I think that there's a whole lot of other things that we recover from by sleeping that we don't really feel. We don't have like that soreness of, the physical soreness of being far,
Everything. Like
not making a good decision or something.
Yeah. It's always funny around January when everyone's always posting about, oh, I'm gonna, go to the gym and eat healthy. And I'm like, sleep. You
Sleep.
need sleep in that equation or it's not gonna work.
Maybe next year is the year of sleep. There could be a trend of, it's not how much you lift or how much you bench or how often you go to the gym. It's how well do you sleep? Like how rested, like I challenge you to who can be more rested tomorrow. Like that's
Right.
should be the real challenge. Well, Keri Cooper, any other last minute tips that you would think to share or highlights or,
I think I also want people to just really understand it can get better. Even though you've suffered with it for a long time, it can get better. Like you just need a better plan.
yes. And we know the person that can help you with that. Keri, I will share all of your contact information on this episode. So if
Thank
any
you.
listeners want to learn more, I've got
Yeah.
a great website with some interesting statistics on that. Little eye opening on how profound, really, even like the national financial consequences of poor sleep is
Yes.
astounding. So if you're
Uh-huh.
talking, budget for, big business or small business or personal, get your sleep in order and everything will be better, I think. So Keri, thank you for joining me. And for any
You.
listeners out there who want to invest in your sleep, I would highly advise that you do that because if it's not dialed now, life is so much better when you do get that under control. So reach out to Keri. And if you have any questions about anything health related, health span related, so it's exercise, nutrition, sleep, emotional well being, or preventative care, feel free to respond to this episode, send me an email, and we'll do another episode on it. So, till next time, get a good night's sleep tonight. Cheers.